Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Wild Free Will podcast. To say that we are doing something different today would be an understatement. As you can see, literally see, for those of you watching, this is the first video episode of the podcast in like 100 years. It's been a really long time. And I definitely have another episode that I set out to record, but the first thing I want to talk about today is the fact that I'm here doing this video, and just to kind of bring you along the ride of like what brought me to this point. So the first thing that I will say, I'm just going to slide my mic a little bit closer. The first thing that I will say is that this has kind of been a long time coming. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while and just kind of been afraid of doing. And the whole idea got sparked by the fact that my partner has an insane amount of like tech stuff. So if you like pile all of our tech stuff together, we have one hell of like a kind of bagaglio. No, I can't remember the word. We have like a lot of tech stuff in any case. Professional stuff, good quality stuff, and we're very lucky from that point of view. But I'm using his camera that he bought for vlogging and that he doesn't use. So I decided, instead of letting it sit in a box, literally this box, that I would try to put it to use. And the reason why I want to like talk about the video and like why I'm doing this before we dive into like the actual episode that I decided to record, which will inevitably be another episode, is to kind of talk about how it can be so easy to make excuses for why you're not doing something that you want to do, that you feel called to do, that you're drawn to, whatever that thing might be. So one of the things I will say is being on video. It doesn't scare me necessarily, but the thing that is the most uncomfortable for me is getting dressed, looking good, trying to put my best face forward, as it were, and just kind of like the fact that maybe it's a little bit, I don't want to say it's awkward. It's not awkward, but it is something that definitely creates a little bit of discomfort for me, because I feel like I want to look a certain way and I want to present a certain version of myself, and I want to come across as professional and, put together. And if I'm really honest with myself and with you, I don't know that I am actually any of those things. I wouldn't say that I'm super professional. Professional in the sense that, like, in the sense of being professional, kind of like being really well dressed, being really put together, being really like elegant, like the corporate version of professional. I think that within my work and the things that I do, the way that I behave, the way that I present myself when I'm working, when I'm doing this podcast, is presentable, or professional, sorry, but I would argue that like this look, this kind of like uncovered shoulders, like that's not necessarily the most like quote unquote professional way to go about doing something. And so that has always been something that has held me back. And another thing that has always held me back is this, like what you see behind me. This is not necessarily the image that I would want to put forward. You're seeing the very messy, kind of real aspects of my life. I don't have this super cute office. I mean, I have some super cute things, and if I could move this camera to show you, I would. But I cannot, because it is currently propped up on a yoga block, because that's the state of things that we're in. But this is not the image that I would want to present necessarily. So that too held me back. Right now, I'm in my office. This is where I work. This is where I often record the podcast. But what you're seeing behind me is like nearly 40-year-old furniture from when my partner was a child, in a room that I'm not particularly content about, aesthetically speaking, and that certainly does not represent me. And like, the curtains from when he was a kid and like the boxes. But I think that, and also the plastic on the bed because we travel, so we cover it. But I think that it was really important to just kind of start before I was ready and start before I was comfortable and to do the things that I've been wanting to do and have been called to do, without like making all of these kind of external things the main factor. They're the main factor of this podcast because I'm talking to you about them, but we're about to get to the juice, which is this idea that you have to follow what you feel called to do. Do not ignore the hunches, the intuition, the pings, the ahas, the epiphanies, call them whatever you want. It really doesn't matter. But you can't ignore them. You are being called for a reason. You are being asked to do this for a reason. And I think it's easy to get really, I think it's really easy, to get tripped up in the details of needing the 4K camera. I didn't need it. I didn't need it to be here doing this. I'm here doing it because I have this available to me, right? I have this camera that has been sitting for literally 2 some years in a box doing nothing. And like, why would I let this really beautiful piece of equipment kind of go to waste when I could make use of it, right? I could have used my iPhone. There was no reason that was stopping me, and perhaps in the future I will as well. I will argue that I like this setup better because I can use my microphone for podcasting and the quality is just a little bit better. But like that didn't need to be something that like held me back, and neither did this necessarily. And it was all this story that I was kind of creating in my mind of how things need to be in order to be done well, or what other people are expecting. But the reason why people listen to the podcast and tune into me is not because I have a really beautiful on-brand background. They listen to me for my heart and my intuition and my vision and the things that I share that are real and true for me. And so it was important for me to, I think, get the first time jitters out of my system via this discussion of sharing like what's kind of going on behind the scenes. But I also think it's really important because we hold ourselves back so often and so intensely, and we feed and we fuel our own limitations and the stories that we're telling ourselves about why we can't do, have, or be the things that we want to do, have, or be. There's a million stories, and it's from a million directions. Like, it could be from a health perspective, from like a beauty or a physical well-being perspective. It could be from a financial perspective, the ways in which we hold ourselves back when it comes to money, what we can earn, who we can be in the world, the stories that we have around who people who have money are, right? And just allowing ourselves to get tripped up by these superficial and sort of inconsequential things instead of really sinking in to the juice of what these things can actually mean for us if we let them, right? Like sinking into the power when we move beyond the fear, when we move beyond the story, when we move beyond the limitation. There is so much to be had on the other side of this. Just me doing this in a video format, it might open the door to somebody finding me who may not have found me before, right? It may show a more human or relatable side to me. I'm not sure, but it's just, and in any case, all of that I would argue is secondary to the fact that this felt like the right thing to do. This felt like something that I had been wanting to do for a while. I've been thinking about this camera, honestly, for so long. And I just kind of felt like with all the content that's available out there, who's going to want to sit and watch me talk to the camera? Like, no one. But I don't get to decide that either. That's just another limiting belief, another limiting story that I was allowing to hold me back from doing something that I felt like I wanted to try doing. And so here I am trying to do it, moving past that fear, moving into something new and different and like kind of uncharted territory. And who knows where this will lead from here? Who knows what will unfold from this decision? But it feels so good. it feels so good to kind of give a middle finger, like a metaphorical middle finger, to the limiting beliefs and the stories that were holding me back from doing something that felt important or interesting or exciting or whatever it might be. And so, what I want this episode, this kind of impromptu episode, to encourage in you is this idea of, where are you holding yourself back? But I would say, even before that, holding ourselves back comes after we've had the ping, after we've had the realization that there's something that we want to do. After we have that, we begin to hear the stories. And I don't want to like rain on anybody's parade, but I would argue that the stories are going to be there no matter what. We're not going to escape the stories. We need to listen to them and honor them and thank them for showing up, because that fear and that energy that's trying to keep you in your comfort zone, that's actually trying to keep you safe. And so it is this kind of loving response from your subconscious, or from whatever, your conscious, whatever you want to call it. But it's not the way that we want to be living. When we are living in alignment with that, we are kind of keeping ourselves stuck or trapped in the status quo of what we've already created, of what already exists. And if we can hear the ping, feel the ping, see the ping, whatever your way of interacting with your intuition is, whenever you get that guidance, right? Whenever that information comes to you, if we're able to listen to it and acknowledge it and take action anyways and move beyond that limitation anyways, there is so much good stuff on the other side. If the only thing on the other side is that you proved to yourself that you could, that you have the power to not give in to these stories, to not give in to this idea, to these limiting beliefs, that in and of itself is a win. Nothing else matters beyond that. But the fact that you were able to take the steps to move beyond this perceived limitation, and the more that you do that over time, the more that builds confidence as well. There's really so much power in that. And we're not talking about reframing the limiting beliefs right now. We're not having a conversation around the things that you can actively do to change the limiting belief, to tell yourself another story. We're actually skipping those steps and jumping immediately into action. You know, I have this idea, I want to do this thing, and I hear the story about why I shouldn't, why I can't, whatever it is that is like holding you back. And I'm going to do it anyways, because none of that matters. And kind of like, screw that. You know what I mean? It goes back to this thing I say on the podcast and that I say to clients too, is like, you know, we don't do this anymore. We don't do that here anymore. We don't sit in that space anymore. We allow ourselves to move beyond. We allow ourselves to expand and grow and evolve and do the things that we really want to do, right? And like, as always, this was not the episode that I set out to record. There is something else that I really feel called to talk about, and I will do another episode about that as well. But this felt really important because this is a visual representation, which is new for me, of me actively moving beyond a limitation and not giving in, not feeding that, right? And that is so much of what I talk about on the podcast. And this video is me being able to show you the ways in which I walk my talk. Why does that matter? I mean, it doesn't. To some extent, it really doesn't, because who the hell am I? I'm nobody. Like, that's not... You know, I'm somebody just like you. But then that's kind of the point, isn't it? It's not about like, I can do this because. It's like, no, I'm just like you and I did this. And so you can too. And it's an invitation and a permission slip to begin going after the things that you really want and the things that are speaking to you, are calling to you, moving beyond those limitations, jumping over the system, over the rules, even of mindset in this case, right? Like, we've just kind of thrown the mindset rules out the window. We're not sitting here having an emotional chat about how we feel about this thing and how we can reframe it and what's a new story that we can tell. We're just jumping straight into this is the story, this is the limitation. I don't believe either of these things. let's move on, let's move forward, let's move past this, right? And that's really powerful if you can get to this space. And if you can't, okay, we go back and we do that work. We do the mindset work. Why do I feel this way? Where did this come from? Is it true? Reframing it and then taking action from that space, telling ourselves the new story about what is possible for us. So, yes, the end. I hope that this episode served you. I hope that you are enjoying this new format. I enjoyed making it. Thank you for an excuse to get dressed and put on some makeup and look a little better. But yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I hope that this is something that speaks to you and that we can continue connecting this way moving forward. As always, if you have any comments, critiques, concerns, you can leave those in the comments, or if you love this episode, rate, review, subscribe, and all of those wonderful things. If you're looking for a way to connect with me deeper, you can actually find me in the Wild Free Well Space group on Insight Timer. I post journal prompts and like discussion topics that we can dive into together. And I'm in there like chatting with you and answering any questions that you might have. So if that sounds like something that you'd be interested in, you know where to find me. Otherwise, I will see you on the next episode of the podcast. Ciao.